New mics.
Hello.
Hello. We have quorum. Let's go ahead and do roll call.
Ann Red, present. Shawanda Pore, present. Greg Hackenberg, present. Jenny West, present. Lee Bressler, present. Tim Lupin, present. Annie Clark, present. Jennifer Green, present. Jason King, absent. We have 8 members constituting a quorum.
Thank you. Welcome to the New Orleans Historic District Landmarks Commission meeting of June 7th, 2023. We would like to thank you for attending and appreciate your support and cooperation with the HDLC. The HDLC is located in City Hall on the 7th floor at the city's one-stop shop. Our mission is to safeguard the heritage of the city of New Orleans by preserving and regulating historic landmarks and districts, which reflect elements of its cultural, social, economic, political, and architectural history. The full HDLC mission statement can be found online. The HDLC has written guidelines that outline our policies and procedures. They are available on the city's website. Please determine if your property is in HDLC district or if your property is an HDLC landmark before beginning any work or repairs on the property. If the work or repairs are visible from the public right-of-way, the work requires a certificate from the HDLC, which is known as a certificate of appropriateness or C of A. You must get a C of A prior to beginning work. Once a C of A is issued, changes must be approved before work can commence on the changes. If you have any questions about our policies or procedures, we have a highly qualified staff ready to assist you. Please pay attention to the following meeting rules. If you plan on speaking and are not the applicant, you must fill out a speaker's card and hand it to the staff before the meeting. They're on the table to the right over here. This is what they look like. All speakers must state their name and address for the record. Our meetings are recorded and televised. There is a 2-minute speaking time limit. Please turn all cell phones off or on vibrate. Phone conversations should be conducted outside of this room. If your application is denied or there is a no action vote, you have 10 calendar days from the date of this meeting to appeal to the city council in writing. The staff will furnish you with the details of this appeals process. Thank you. Item 2 of the agenda is minutes of the Wednesday, May 3rd, 2023 meeting.
I'd like to move for approval of the minutes.
Commissioner Bressler makes the motion, seconded by Commissioner Green. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 3, the CL3 review of the Castle Family House, 917-919 North Tonti Street.
This is the certified local government review of 917-919 North Tonti Street, which is being considered for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. The entire report and a summary was forwarded to the commissioners. The Castle Family House is nationally and locally significant under criterion A in the areas of social history, politics and government, and ethnic heritage, (black), due to the Castle family's role in the local and national civil rights movement. The period of significance, 1960-1965, reflects the years that the Castle Family House was a headquarters, meeting place, and safe house for local and national civil rights leaders, largely via the New Orleans chapter of the Congress of Racial Equity, known as CORE, for which Aretha Castle Haley served as its president from 1961 to 1964. Aretha Castle Haley's impact on the civil rights movement has been recognized by the city of New Orleans, which renamed the section of Dryad Street in her honor. Recognition of the role of the Castle family and their home in the pursuit of civil rights will allow the house to stand again as it did in the 1960s, a source of education and community connection, and will elucidate the Castle families and the city of New Orleans' vital role in the national civil rights movement. The staff recommends that the commission recommend 917-919 North Tonti Street be listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And we need a full vote on that recommendation.
Thank you. I do have one speaker's card, Nathan Lott.
Yes.
Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Nathan Lott on behalf of Preservation Resource Center 923 Chapatulas. I'll be very brief because you have a long agenda. I just spoke to Candace Henderson, who actually owns this property, and she's out of town collecting some memorabilia for what they hope to do as an educational exhibit here. But she wants the commission to know that the owner is fully supportive of this, and it's already a contributing element in the district, but this will have the effect of recognizing the property with a new period of significance that takes it into the mid 20th century, 1960s time, when it was a place of refuge for people who were part of the Freedom Rides and stayed there. And she'd like to perhaps interpret it to that time period. So thanks for looking favorably on it.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment on this item? No public comments. Commissioners? Do we have, we need two motions, I believe, and a full vote, correct? Is that? Commissioner Clark?
I move to nominate the Castle Family Home as a national, to the National Historic Register.
Thank you. Commissioner Green?
I second that motion.
Thank you. And it seems like everyone else is ready to second. So all those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 4, the landmark nomination of 1129 Lower 9th Street.
1129 Lower Line Street is a contributing rated structure in the Uptown Local and National Register Historic District. It is located on lots 13 and 14 of Square 8 in the Municipal District 6. The building faces Lower Line Street, is backed by Pine Street, and is bound by Zimple Street and Oak Street. The building first appears in the 1909 Sanborn map. However, this is not necessarily indicative of age of the structure, as this part of the city was not featured on earlier Sanborn maps. Likewise, this block does not appear on the 1883 Robinson Atlas. As per the 2013 FEMA Historic District Survey, the building was constructed in 1869. Information from the Friends of the Cabildo Volume New Orleans Architecture, the University section. Neighborhood lore states that the building is older but was moved to its present location. However, there's no primary source documentation to substantiate this claim, nor would that make this building unusual, as buildings were commonly moved during this time period. As per the New Orleans Architecture University section, alterations in 1906 by Grace McGeehan altered the original appearance, including the change to its current roof line, dormers, gable and Palladian windows, and Tuscan columns. A photo taken in 1984 that was submitted with the National Register of Historic Places inventory nomination form of the Uptown Historic District shows that a portion of the porch was screened in at that point, but the porch is now open. Statement of significance and staff recommendation. The Historic District Landmarks Commission evaluates the significance of a structure based on the 4 criteria as established by section 84.22 of the city code, any one of which can make a building eligible for nomination. There is nothing which would make this building any more notable than others of its type. As such, the staff does not recommend that this building be nominated for study as a landmark.
Thank you. Thank you for that report. I do have one public comment card on this. Susan Johnson, please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Susan Johnson, 2822 LePage Street. I am not paid to be here. Please support the nomination of 1129 Lower Line as an HDLC landmark. As you've heard, it was moved to the site in the 1860s. Neighborhood lore. The house is located on the Lower Line boundary of the Uptown Historic District. When preservationists nominated the Uptown New Orleans Historic District to the National Register in 1985, they included a photo of this house in the materials. This inclusion in the nomination form points to its significance. The photo was taken by Robert Cangelosi. It's dated May 1984, and the caption identifies the house as a raised cottage. According to these same nomination materials, the raised cottage accounts for just 2% of the Uptown Historic District types. Please help us to preserve this unusual form and preserve it for the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any additional public comment on this nomination application? No public comments. Commissioners?
I move we reject this nomination for the staff's recommendation.
If the commission does not wish to nominate it, they can simply not act.
We just won't act. Yeah. Thank you, though. Doesn't look like I have any motions from the commission. Okay. All right, moving forward to the next application. We don't have nomination on this one. Item 5, landmark designation of 1421 Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard.
This report is rather extensive, so I will just be hitting some high points.
Thank you.
1421 Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard is a contributing rated structure in the Central City National Register Historic District, located on lots 1 and 2 or lot 6 of square 280 in Municipal District 1. The building faces Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard, late Dryad Street, name changed 1989, is backed by South Rampart Street and is bound by Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, late Melpomene Street, name changed 1977, and Thalia Street. The building first appears on the 1883 Robinson Atlas of the City of New Orleans. The footprint remains unchanged on the 1885 Sanborn Fire Insurance Map and the 1895 Sanborn Fire Insurance Map. The rear of the structure is different on the 1909 Sanborn Fire Insurance Map and again on the 1937 Sanborn Fire Insurance Map. As per the 2009 FEMA Historic District Survey, the building was constructed between 1870 to 1880. However, as per research done by Beth Jacob, the building was constructed in 1866 alongside 1427 Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard. Both were developed by Patrick Irwin, who also spearheaded the construction of the Dryads Market, which was across the street. By 1882, the building was being auctioned with the aforementioned adjacent structure, described as 2 3-story brick buildings designated for stores below and dwellings above and in the rear. The building is labeled as a furniture store on the 1885 Sanborn map, a mattress making shop in 1895, and a lodge in 1937. As per Jacob's article on the building, the first ground floor commercial tenant in Irwin's new structure was Oscar Geordie's Crockery Store. Subsequent tenants included A. Portner's Dry Goods, F. Schwinden's Furniture Store, Jacob Oppenheim's Furniture Store, Famous Electric Company Incorporated, Sunlight Electric Bake Shop, and a vegetable and poultry market. The upper floors were apartments and additional commercial spaces with past tenants such as a Ten Smith and candy manufacturers. 1421 Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard has served as the home of the St. Andrew Grand Lodge, AF and A&M since 1920. They subsequently purchased the building in 1921. The Andrew Grand Lodge was organized on June 10th, 1906 at 1015 Julia Street. Their female counterpart, the Electa Grand Chapter Order of the Eastern Stars, was organized May 16th, 1911. The Historic District Landmarks Commission evaluates the significance of a structure based on the 4 criteria as established by section 84.22 of the City Code, any one of which can make a building eligible for designation. The importance of Black Masonic orders has been documented by multiple scholars. Paul Lawrence Dunbar in the Journal of African American Studies in 2012 wrote that an argument can be made that African American Freemasonry also played a significant role in creating a sense of unity and racial pride as Black struggled to find a national identity. He added that during Reconstruction, Black Americans formed and joined Masonic organizations in addition to churches and other civic-minded organizations as a way to develop community pride, support racial uplift, and financial success. The staff finds that 1421 Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard meets one of the 4 criteria and that it exemplifies and reflects the broad cultural, political, social history of the state or community. As the building meets this criteria, the staff recommends that the commission designate 1421 Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard as a local landmark. I also want to note that we nominated this building July 8th, 2010.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate the building.
Wonderful. I'm just going to see if there's any public comment on this application. No public comment. Thank you for the nomination. Do we have a second? Commissioner Pore, thank you. All those in favor? Or we just,
We need 2 seconds.
okay, 2 seconds.
Just for clarity, this is a designation, not a
Okay.
nomination.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry. We don't need
I
2 seconds.
apologize.
We need a motion in a second and a
Okay.
full vote.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. We have a second.
So
motion-
may I clarify, my motion was to designate.
Thank you, Commissioner Green. Seconded by Commissioner Pore. Thank you. All those in favor? No. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right. Moving forward, consent agenda item 6. We have a long list of these, so I'm going to read through them. A 1717 Religious Street, 621 Celeste Street. Item B 3101 Esplanade Avenue. Item C 522 Montague Street. Item D 1326 Josephine Street. Item E 2338 Constant Street. Item F 1449 1451 North Robertson Street. Item G 633 Esplanade Avenue, item H, 1028 St. Anthony Street, item I, 702 Desire Street, item J, 1008-10 Melpomene Street, item K, 1012 14 Melpomene Street, item L, 1016 18 Melpomene Street, item M, 1040 Elysian Fields Avenue, item N, 633 Napoleon Avenue, item O is 4810 St. Charles Avenue, and item P is 903 Spain Street. Do we have any public comment on the consent agenda? No public comments. All those in favor? I'm sorry, do we have a motion for the consent agenda? Oh, thank you, Commissioner Green. Commissioner Bressler seconds. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. If you are here for consent agenda, you are welcome to leave. You do not need to stay any longer for this meeting. Thank you for attending and good luck with your projects. Item 7, old business work applications. Item A is 437 Bermuda Street. Is the applicant present? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, William Wesley, owner of 2809 Danielle Street.
Thank you.
When it rains, it
This-
pours roofing.
The staff will make their presentation and we'll hear your comments following.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
This is an application for the removal of existing shingle roof and ridge tiles and installation of a standing seam metal roof at a contributing rated one-story single-family residential building in full control Algiers Point. 437 Bermuda Street is a circa 1885 frame double shotgun residence with typical Victorian era detailing, including skull brackets and sunburst motif at the front facing gable. The building is surmounted by a gable roof with English V ridge tiles and 2 original chimneys. Currently, the building has an architectural shingle roof, and the property owner is petitioning the commission to allow for the removal of the existing shingle roof, including the ridge tiles, to install a standing seam metal roof. Per the HDLC guidelines, standing seam metal roofs are only approvable when and if they are appropriate for the building type and style. In this instance, the English V ridge tiles and finial add to the character of the existing roof, and the shingles mimic slate that would have been present when the building was constructed. In addition, the double shotgun is visible from both Bermuda and Alex Streets, and the immediate context does not really include any buildings with metal roofing. In keeping with previous determinations, as well as the type of building, staff recommends denial of the installation of the standing seam metal roof.
Thank you. So the applicant, do you wish to address the commission?
Yeah, the owner of the house has basically always wanted a standing seam metal roof. I think he and his mother own the building presently. She's getting a little up in age, and they are really interested in a solid fortified metal roof to preserve the house for the next 30 or 40 years. We're just requesting a small variance. There are many other metal roofs in that area, a few standing seam metal roofs, even in the blocks across the street from their house. So they are just hoping they can get one too. We're begging.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Is there any additional public comment on this application? Any public comment? No public comment. We do see a number of applications for standing seam metal roofs. When we're reviewing them, as the staff noted, essentially this one is visible. But I believe that's why they have the denial recommendation on here. I will I'll look to other commissioners if they have comments on this application. And Commissioner Pori, I know this is in your district as well in Algiers. I don't know if your mic is on. Sorry.
Thank you. I'm in line with denial of the report for the fact that it is visible and trying to ensure that we keep in consistency.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from commissioners? Would you like to make a motion, Commissioner Pori?
I make a motion to deny as recommended.
Thank you. Do we have a second to that motion? Commissioner Hackenberg seconds. Is there any additional comments between commissioners? All those in favor? All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. You have 10 calendar days from the date of this meeting to appeal to city council in writing. If you wish to do that, the staff will furnish you with the details of the appeals process.
If I come back in 10 days, will you approve it?
No, we've made a decision and it's moving forward. So if you wish to appeal it, you can reach out to the staff.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, item 8, new business work applications. Item A is 3014 Chippewa Street. Is the applicant present? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record. We'll have the staff make their presentation and hear your comments following. Thank you.
Wall Barrett,
Please,
3014 Chippewa Street.
thank you.
This is an application to request to not reinstall English V ridge tiles at a contributing rated 1-story 2-family residential building in full control Irish Channel. A C of A was issued for the replacement of roof shingles and reinstallation of the existing English V ridge tiles on March 3rd. The applicant is requesting to not reinstall the ridge tiles per the issued C of A. Ridge tiles are an important architectural feature of roofs and should be maintained per the guidelines. As such, staff recommends denial of the application, but due to lack of visibility, staff recommends that the ridge tiles only need to be reinstalled at the front hip of the roof.
Thank you. So the applicant, do you wish to address the commission?
No, I don't.
Are you in agreement with the staff's recommendation?
If they allow me to remove the ones that are behind the chimney,
Okay,
that's what they said.
thank you for that.
Yes.
Commissioner Hackenberg, this is in your district.
It is, and I have been by the house and you really cannot see much of anything past that chimney on the roof line. And I think the staff has made a really good compromise with you, and if you're in favor of it, I will make a motion that we deny the request to remove all of them with the condition that they be replaced on the front facade.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Hackenberg. Do we have a
I'll
second?
second that motion.
Commissioner Green. All
Thank you.
right, seconds. Is there any public comment on this application? No public comment. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you and good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Item B, 3133 Ponce de Leon. The applicant present. Please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Carla Bardwell with Studio Rise, 1541 Tulane Ave.
Thank you.
This is a request to install highly visible mechanical equipment at a 2-story commercial building in full control Esplanade Ridge. HDLC guidelines for commercial buildings state that mechanical equipment which detracts from the historic appearance of buildings should be located in the least visibly obtrusive location available. It is not uncommon for placement of mechanical equipment to be placed in the rear or inside yards. I'm sorry, I'm rereading this sentence. It is not uncommon for placement of mechanical equipment in rear and side yards to be unviable due to the building's relation to property lines. If there is not another viable location for this equipment, staff has no objection to the current proposed locations as they are toward the rear of the building, provided that there are no other viable alternatives that would be less visibly obtrusive. So the overall recommendation would be no objection.
Thank you. Do you wish to address the commission?
Yeah, we have considered other options. The opposite side is a residential building, so we're trying to keep it off their property line, and they do use that quite a bit to get to their backyard. And then that small lean-to in the back, the roof just isn't high enough for us to put the equipment, and we felt a fire-safe way.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment on this application? Seeing as there no public comments, commissioners?
I'll make a motion to approve, given there are no other viable alternatives.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Seconded by Commissioner Pori. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you and good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Item C, 2222 Charter Street. Is the applicant present? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Robert J. Arena Jr., and I'm here on behalf of Brian and Donna Ace. She's had a scheduled surgery. They apologize for not being here today, but
Thank
here
you.
on their behalf.
Thank you. The staff will make their presentation and you can make your comments following.
This is an application to remove an existing historic iron fence from the front yard of a contributing rated one-story single-family residential building for replacement with new iron fencing in full control Marini. The applicant has noted they would like to replace the fencing at the front yard with new taller iron fencing to match the previous due to its deteriorated condition and to provide additional site security. The applicant plans to remove the existing fencing and install new taller fencing with a wider vehicle access gate. The overall fence design will be replicated, including locations of posts. And the applicant has confirmed it will be constructed of new solid metal pickets punched through horizontal members with appropriate spikes, locks, and bolts. However, the existing historic fencing appears to be in fair to good overall condition, and the HDLC guidelines discourage the removal of historic fencing. Based on this, staff recommends the commission vote to deny the request and recommends the applicant continue to work with staff on an alternative proposal that modifies the existing fencing rather than replacing it to achieve the desired height and security.
Thank you. So the applicant, do you wish to address the commission?
Yes, Mr. Ace and his family were on the porch where an invader stepped over the existing fence. And that's where, his 25-year-old niece probably will never visit the city ever again. But I mean, he was doing it strictly for security purposes. He was going to go up to 54 inches. As far as, the gates, the driveway gates, probably 8 feet or less, and he was going to widen that. It's not really designed for modern automobiles as far as getting in and out. The pedestrian gate, it's sagging, it's in pretty dire straits. And rather than trying to fabricate something, he wanted to go ahead and replace it. As far as the existing fence, he would like to use that because they love the aesthetics of it. And he'd love to use that in the courtyard, but if the board has better use for it, if it helps his cause, no, he would easily donate it, okay? But yeah, but as far as the aesthetics, they liked the aesthetics of the fence. And they wanted to make sure that we were going to stay within, they didn't want to venture far away from what they already have. They just needed taller. And yeah, for security purposes.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this application? No public comments. This is in my district. I also have a historic fence at my property and I'm very familiar with this as well. I cannot make a motion on this, but I will look to other commissioners to comment. I do believe the staff's made a very good report on this one in terms of talking about the fact that, typically we just do not allow this. So again, not setting a new precedent for replicating a fence and increasing its height.
Hypothetically, if you weren't chairman and you could make a motion, what would it be?
I would make a recommendation I would make a motion for denial. But again, if there are any other commissioners who want to speak to this application.
And I mean, he just didn't want to piecemeal the thing together,
I just wanted to add that the staff could approve raising the fence up on a chain wall so that the existing historic fence is preserved and the added security is attained.
Thank you. Has the applicant entertained that option?
Not at this point.
Okay. So again, there is an option that's available to the applicant that would allow for both to retain the fence that's approvable and provides that height.
Mhm.
Okay. Just want to make sure they note that as we move forward with the motion on this.
Yeah, I mean, they have several different options. It's just, when you're going to go through the expense, to sit there and put the old with the new and marry them together and to get the height that he's looking for. I mean, looking at the pictures, I'm not quite sure a higher chain wall would be all that attractive, but you guys are the experts.
Well, we are, and we have guidelines for this. And the staff works on this every day looking at applications. There are a number of examples around the city with the chain wall and fence as well. So again, really, we're here to review, and the staff makes the reports based on the guidelines, which a number of experts sit in a room looking at as well. So thank you. So I'm looking to other commissioners. Do we have a motion on this one?
Does he want to go back and look at the other options before we make a vote?
So if they did that, I don't actually believe they'd have to come back to commission for that. It's something that could be done at staff level. So if what's in front of us today is requesting to do something that the staff cannot approve. So if we make the motion on this, they still have the option to go back and work with staff. That's always an option, work with staff and do something that's approvable by staff.
If
Good
we,
question, though.
if we defer this, that also gives them the time to go back to staff and then doesn't provide that waiting period, right, for them to reapply?
I'd have to look to staff for that.
Am I correct on that procedure?
If this is denied, then they could not apply again for the same item for a calendar year.
So
If it's,
oh, go ahead.
if
I
it's
apologize.
denied, if it's deferred, it would be deferred for 30 days.
And give them time to work with the staff.
Correct.
I'm just putting that out there. I don't know if you want that option.
I mean, I'd prefer it to be, if it's not gonna be approved, deferred, and if it's deferred, I mean, I might not even be back in 30 days, but I'd like the option. And I'd like Mr. and Mrs. Ace to have the option. But yeah, but there's a good chance I wouldn't be back.
Okay. Great. So given that, and there is a high likelihood that this commission would vote with the staff's recommendation on this. So I'm going to look to commissioners, Commissioner Poyer, Commissioner Green. Do either one of you want to make a motion for deferral?
I'd like to make a motion to defer for till the next meeting. It's not going to be exactly 30 days from today, just till the next meeting.
Yes. Thank you. Commissioner Green, Commissioner Poirier seconds. All those in favor? All those opposed, the motion carries. Your application has been deferred to the next calendar meeting. So if hopefully you can go back and work with the owners.
So you're
And-
saying I still got a chance?
You've got a chance. There's a good, hopefully you can work something out where you're not back here at all. So good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. All right, item 9, old business demolition applications. Item A, 1492 Moss Street. Is the applicant present? Please state your name and address for the record.
Heather Cooper, Rosa Sword Architects, 1100 Poitras.
Thank you. We'll hear the staff's presentation and hear your comments following.
This is an application for demolition of a contributing rated one-story accessory building at the rear of a raised basement residential building to grade in partial control Parkview. At the March 2022 HDLC NO Commission meeting, an application was heard for the demolition of both accessory buildings to clear the site for a large addition. At that time, the Creole Cottage type building was determined to be contributing, with the smaller CMU garage building being non-contributing. The HDLC Commission motioned that the non-contributing accessory building could be demolished, but that the contributing cottage must remain. Following a year of revising plans and neighborhood meetings, the applicant is returning to the commission to request that the contributing building also be demolished. And at the May 2023 meeting, at the last meeting, the commission deferred the item to provide time to further review a full proposal of the site, which is now included. And although the date of construction of the building is unclear, the overall type, style, and materiality of the building highlight its importance contributing to the two ensemble of the site. Staff again recommends denial of demolition.
Thank you. So the applicant, do you wish to address the commission?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
As she said, about a little over a year ago, we presented the request for both outbuildings to be demolished. One building was determined that we could do that. The other one, we were not given that opportunity. So we met with Councilman Giarrusso to see about our options, if he would support it. He said that for him, neighborhood support was essential. So we tried meeting with the neighbors and they were not in support of our design at that time. So we went back to the drawing board to look at a way to retain the historic outbuilding and presented that to the neighbors, and they didn't care for that option either and preferred the original option. So now that we're back with the neighborhood association support, we're hoping that may alter your decision at this time.
Thank you. I do have one, I'm going to call for public comment first, and then we'll have discussion. Susan Johnson. Please state your name and address for the record.
Susan, Susan Johnson, 2822 LePage Street. I am not paid to be here. It's widely understood that this project is going to pass on appeal, and so, but I am I'm for the HDLC position on this, but just for the record, I think this project, you know, it's been moved forward without regard for the property rights of the adjacent neighbors. Two of them have spoken out publicly against it. They're not here today, but as a zoning issue, you know, this is a 2.5 times expansion of this building, and there's no provision for the rights of the adjacent property owners. Thank you.
Thank you. Just as a reminder, this application is in the Parkview Partial Control District. This commission only reviews demolition in that district, and just the public comment on that, we do not review zoning. So is there any additional public comment on this application? Seeing as there's no public comment, I'm going to look to the commissioners for discussion on this one. Commissioner Hackenberg.
I mean, given that we have reviewed this structure previously and really there's nothing in the situation has changed. I feel we should uphold our previous decision and strictly in for the consistency.
Thank you. Commissioner Pori, do you have any comments?
I think we should also follow that guideline.
Any other comments from commissioners? Would anyone like to make a motion? Commissioner Hackenberg,
Yeah, I'll move. We deny the request.
thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Lupin. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you and good luck with your project. Your application's been denied by the HDLC. You have 10 calendar days from the date of this meeting to appeal to City Council in writing. The staff will furnish you with the details of that appeals process.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you and good luck with your project. Okay, item 10, new business demolition applications. Item A, 5129 Chestnut Street. Is the applicant present? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Brooks Graham. I'm the architect for 5129 Chestnut Street. I live at 1432 Polymnia Street.
Thank
New
you.
Orleans.
The staff will make their presentation and we'll hear your comments following. Thank you.
This is an application for the demolition of more than 50% of the roofs of a significant rated 2-story, single-family residential building in partial control uptown. Based on FEMA research, 51 Chestnut Street was constructed from 1870 to 1880. However, it does not show up on Sanborn Fire Insurance maps until 1909. The center hall was comprised of a single-story building with a rear service wing with a side porch and several accessory buildings. Sometime before 1951, the rear porch was enclosed and the accessory buildings were modified as evidenced by the 1951 revised 1909 fire insurance map. The 1983 and 1994 Sanborn maps show that the building footprint remained the same. However, a second floor rear addition at the Dufaucet side of the rear build service wing was added, encapsulating a portion of the rear of the building at some time prior to the beginning of this century. The rear service wing side elevation does not maintain the original character like the primary facade and have been heavily altered. This building's roof demolition calculation is 48.6%, which is under HDLC threshold of 50%. However, due to the significant rating of the building, staff has requested this item be heard in the event a small percentage of further demolition is required due to unforeseen conditions during construction. The HDLC staff has no objection to the request of partial demolition of possibly more than 50% of the roof structure with the primary facade and structure to remain intact. Staff will work closely with the applicant for unforeseen conditions and changes in scope. The recommendation is no objection by staff.
Thank you. So the applicant, do you wish to address the commission?
Well, I agree with the assessment from the staff and am prepared to comply with their recommendation.
Thank you. We appreciate you working with the staff on this application. And we appreciate the staff bringing this one forward, also so that we can hear this one. Is there any public comment on this application? There's no public comments. Commissioner Lupin, this is in your district.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting looking project. Good luck with the V roof.
Thank you.
In there and the water with that, but we have no objection. So move we accept the staff's recommendation and no objection.
If you'd like to make a motion.
So motion to approve the removal of approximately 50% of the roof as indicated.
Thank you. And the staff's report. Wonderful. Thank you, Commissioner Lupin. Is there a second to that? Commissioner Bressler seconds. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you and good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
Item B, 3604 Tulane Avenue. Is the applicant present? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Isaac Penhas representing 3604 Tulane Avenue LLC, 3604 Tulane Avenue.
Thank you. Staff will make their presentation and we'll hear your comments following.
This is an application for demolition to grade of a two-story commercial building in partial control mid-city. 3604 Tulane was originally a double shotgun estimated by FEMA to have been constructed between 1895 and 1905 and first appearing on the 1908 Sanborn maps, the mid-city's period of significance. Between 1940 and 1950, the building was raised and additions were added at the rear, as can be seen within the 1950 Sanborn. The original shotgun form, which can still be detected within the building's later alterations, speaks to the area's history as a working-class residential neighborhood. Contemporary development along Tulane Avenue has overtaken the historic streetscape, leaving few original residential buildings. It is important to maintain the residential buildings, it is important to maintain the history of the area and the story of its early inhabitants through the preservation of contributing architecture. However, it is recognized by staff that little architectural value remains due to the scale of the alterations over time. Few indications of the original architecture remain outside of the building's roof form and gable window, although the original form is still there, hidden beneath later additions and obscured by a raised basement. HDLC inspector reported that overall this building is in good structural condition and inhabitable condition, appears to be currently or very recently in use as a workspace and living space. No evidence of wood destroying insects or water intrusion. There's previously a large billboard sign attached to the roof, which was removed following hurricane damage. The roof has been damaged in the areas where the sign was attached, causing isolated leaks, which could be sealed or repaired. There are some minor but reparable cracks in the CMU, a minor deflection of the right wall. Weatherboards show no sign of deterioration and appear to be recently installed. The inspector remarked that the interior of the building appears to be well maintained. There is some damage along the center of the ceiling on the first floor, but the reason is unclear, although it may be due to insufficient lateral support across its span, as the first floor has no interior walls. There's some cracking at the interior front wall where the roof of an enclosed porch was removed, but this does not appear to indicate structural failure or imminent collapse of the building. There's no evidence on the second floor of settlement or deflection of the framing. While staff would prefer that the building be repaired to preserve the historic building that has been encapsulated by additions, it has been so obscured by alterations that very little aesthetic historic architectural value remains. So the overall recommendation would be no objection.
Thank you. To the applicant, do you wish to address the commission?
Yes. We have some speaking cards as well.
Yes, I just received those. I was going to ask. So you have 2 minutes. The speakers will also have 2 minutes each. But the staff, just as a reminder, is recommending no objection to this application.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if y'all were aware of the staff's report or not.
Okay, well, I'll just add anybody that might disagree that there's any structural issues with the building. I would invite y'all to come inhabit the building, even for a few hours. My office was on the first floor towards the front. And when sewage and water board drops their vehicles in front of the building, you don't want to be in that building.
Thank you for it. Thank you for coming. I'm just going to remind you, we have a long agenda today. but that the staff is recommending no objection to this. I do want to just acknowledge the two speaker cards I have in my hand in case they also want to comment. If you're okay with that. So it is, forgive me, it's a little bit hard to read. It looks like Dale Reddy. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for being here. And Gary Durrell. You're also, okay, great. So with that, I'm going to see if there's any additional public comments on this.
Sure.
Is there any public comment on this application? There's no public comment.
This is in my district.
Yes.
I mean, I think as the staff noted, it really makes me sad as part of Mid-City, especially along its major thoroughfares, with the hospital redevelopment is losing a lot of its history, and soon it feels like you would drive down Tulane Avenue and not realize that there used to be shotgun houses along this street. And so it really does sadden me, but given that this really does not harken back to that and it's lost all of those details, I will make a motion to approve the demolition.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Is there a second to that motion? Commissioner Bressler seconds. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you and good luck with your projects.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, 7716-18, Kalapissa, forgive me, is withdrawn. Item D, 3012-14 lower line, is also withdrawn. Item E, 3016-18 lower line has been withdrawn. And item F, 1501-03 Rochamblave has been withdrawn, North Rochamblave. Forgive me, my iPad has lost connection. The one that I have has, the latest one it shows this withdrawn. Yep, okay. Okay, moving forward, old business retention applications, item A, 425 Eliza Street, the applicant present.
This one was, the applicant requested deferral this morning.
Okay.
So that didn't make it on the agenda, but that'll be moved to the next meeting.
Thank you for letting us know. With that, we'll make a motion. Commissioner Poirier, this is in your district, but I am going to see, is there any public comment on this application? No public comment. Commissioner Poirier, they're requesting a deferral for this one.
I grant. I motion to grant.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, it's wonderful. We have a motion on the floor. Forgive me, my iPad has lost connection, so I'm a little bit, okay.
I'll second.
Just still on the agenda. Or is it wrong?
It was withdrawn according to the.
It was withdrawn, so I don't know.
Okay,
We don't need a
thank you.
motion.
Forgive me.
Okay.
This one is withdrawn. All right, moving forward, item B, 5640 Burgundy Street. Is the applicant present? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Gerald Billis. I'm the architect for this project. The owner is out of town right now and could not be present. So I'll answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. The staff will make the report and we'll hear comments following.
This is an application for retention of installation of a new 600 square foot right side canopy and new 500 square foot rear covered porch, installation of inappropriate balcony handrails, newel posts and flashing, and removal of a rear window opening at an existing contributing rated 2-story commercial building, and deviation of a C of A and full control Holy Cross. This application was deferred at last month's meeting so that the applicant would have additional time to work with staff to resolve some of these items. To start with the rear covered and right side canopies, these are both reviewed by the ARC at the April meeting and both were recommended for conceptual approval with the proviso that the right side canopy be reduced in size or shifted back a minimum of 1 column bay to reduce its overall scale. The applicant has provided updated drawings incorporating these recommendations. Based on this, staff recommends the commission ratify the ARC recommendation for conceptual approval and approve the request for retention, provided these updated drawings are implemented. The balcony handrails, newel posts and flashing. The balcony repairs completed are not considered appropriate because they do not match the previous documented condition or the typical HDLC details for these elements. For example, the original balcony had 5 newel posts rather than 6, and each was wider than the current and included decorative wood trim. The current handrail utilizes a flat top rail without apron trim at the sides, making it appear visually too thin. Bottom rail also appears to be flat, which will likely lead to accelerated deterioration of these elements. The current balcony decking is an inappropriate sheet metal material that prominently extends over the edges of the fascia to form a drip edge. The applicant is requesting these balcony conditions be retained, however, has offered some additional options for consideration. The first would be to retain the 6 newel posts, but wrap, trim, and cap them to more closely match the standard details. The second is to modify the top bar of the handrail by installing a double beveled board to properly shed water. However, this would not include apron trim or the bottom rail modifications. And the third option is to install new standard tongue and groove porch decking via an adhesive to the top of the existing sheet metal decking, which will extend past the balcony edge with a new fascia board below to visually conceal the existing drip edge. The current owner previously demonstrated the ability to successfully reconstruct the balcony to match the historic condition, and the property has been continuously cited by HDLC for these violations since at least 2015. However, despite the proposed modifications not fully recreating the previous condition, they will greatly improve the overall appearance of the balcony from the street and contribute to the enhanced appearance of the primary facade. Based on this, staff recommends the commission vote to approve the request for retention with a proviso that the applicant recommended changes are implemented so the balcony elements more closely reflect the typical details and to ensure their maximum longevity. And finally, the removal of the rear window. The applicant removed one second floor window at the rear of the building sometime after August 2019 without a C of A. The previously existing 6/6 window was removed and the area was infilled with new weatherboard siding. HDLC guidelines note that the arrangement, size, type, and proportions of windows and openings are key components of a building's style and character. As such, original windows and historic wood trim should be retained, and the modification or removal of windows openings is discouraged. The applicant is requesting the window removal be retained, however, has offered two potential options for consideration. One would be that two smaller operable wood windows would be installed to the left and right of the previous opening to better accommodate the updated interior layout. And the second option would be a new false shuttered opening that can be installed to match the size and location of the previous. Based on these two options, the HDLC guidelines and due to the visual prominence of the window area from Lamanche, staff has no recommendation and leaves the decision to the discretion of the commission. However, staff also recommends the commission consider requesting the applicant return to the ARC so they can review the proposed window options and offer a recommendation to the commission.
Thank you. So the applicant, do you wish to address the commission?
I don't have any more to add. It was very detailed and we've been talking with the staff along the way. I appreciate your consideration. So.
We appreciate it. I know we deferred this application at the last meeting. We appreciate you working with the staff in that time for the deferral. So thank you for that. Is there any public comment on this application? There's no public comments. Commissioners, this is a 3-part application for retention. So and it's rather detailed. So do any of the commissioners have comments on this one or want to start to tackle all 3?
Can you just summarize the 3 main parts and the 3 recommendations?
Sure. The 3 things are the rear covered and right side canopies. That's a recommendation for approval based on the ARC recommended changes. The balcony handrails, newel posts, and flashing. That is a recommendation for approval with the proviso that all of the applicant proposed modifications are incorporated. On the removal of the rear window, there's no staff recommendation.
Yeah, and for the removal of the rear window, there were 2 alternatives that were offered by the applicant. One is a false shutter and the other are 2 smaller operable windows on either side of that window.
So either of those 2 are acceptable,
They both have advantages and disadvantages.
but you would just leave it to them to decide.
We left it to the commission.
The false shutter is probably the most realistic for what was there previously, but they can tend to not be produced very well or, can kind of fall apart during storms and aren't repaired well. Otherwise, the 2 window options, are an alternative proposal, but, it's not the same as a single window at the rear.
The 2 window options at least provide some light, real light, sunlight into those spaces beyond. If we did, based on the staff's recommendation, replace the center window with a false window, then there's no light coming into those spaces. We're willing to do either one really, but personally, I would prefer to have light into those spaces. So.
Thank you. Commissioners. Commissioner Lupin.
I'll make a motion to accept the retention of the side canopy and covered porch, accept the installation of the balcony handrails, with the proviso of the modifications that have been worked out and recommended, be adhered to, and accept the recommendation of 2 windows into the back of the building. What I'll say is, obviously work out details with staff and make sure that those windows are actually appropriate to the buildings.
Commissioner Bressler seconds that. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you for
Thanks very
working with the
much.
staff on this application and good luck with your project.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, new business retention applications. Item A, 729 9th Street. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Catherine O'Brien, I live at 727 8th Street.
Thank you.
This is an application for the retention of demolition of more than 50% of the wall structure of a contributing rated 1-story single-family residential building in deviation of their certificate of appropriateness in full control Irish Channel. FEMA survey research estimates that the building was constructed between 1885 and 1895 and first appears on the 1887 Sanborn map. The building's original footprint and massing have not been altered except for 2 small shed additions at the rear and at the side entrance. A C of A was issued on March 20th for the renovation and construction of a new rear addition at the historic residential building. On May 8th, the stop work order was posted by the HDLC for the restructuring of the exterior walls in excess of what was approved. The approved drawing showed 43% demolition of existing exterior wall framing for the new addition. However, the inspection photos showed that the demolition exceeded that scope of work with an additional 45% of the exterior walls reframed, bringing the total exterior wall demolition to 88%. As the approved drawing stated that any additional removal or replacement of exterior wall framing was subject to HDLC review and no contact by the applicant or documentation of the condition of the structure was submitted, staff recommends approval of the retention with a moderate fine. The fine range for this building is $0 to $45,360.
Thank you. So the applicant, do you wish to address the commission?
Yes.
You have 2 minutes.
Unfortunately, the condition of the building was highly deteriorated and the framers made a lot of big mistakes. They were attempting to kind of alter the foundation and do some sill work when the building really had significant termite damage and many of the exterior walls kind of began to collapse. The framing that you see there is actually just bracing. It doesn't even have any window openings. The framers really should have been more cognizant and should not have removed that amount, but they were worried about the safety of the structure. And we have chosen to implement some Spanish and English documentation so that a mistake like this should not occur ever again.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Is there any public comment on this application? There's no public comment. Commissioner Hackenberg, this is in your district, Irish Channel.
Yes, it is. Again, often in these houses, we do see deterioration that is more significant than could have been assessed at the time. But we have procedures for dealing with that, and it starts with documenting what's there and contacting the staff and going through the proper channels to approve that. The material's gone. We don't know if all of it might have necessarily needed to be saved. The easy thing to do is just replace all of it. But again, all that original material is gone, and we don't have any way of knowing that.
I did submit photos of the deteriorated materials.
Okay.
I'm gonna look to the staff. Were photos submitted from the applicant?
I did not receive any photos after I requested them.
What did you do with the material?
The material was on site for a while and then it was removed.
Okay, there's no public comment on this application. We hate to see when this happens. It does happen more than we would really like to see here. Again, you're working in a full control district. And at any point when you find framing issues, you're to notify the staff to revise the C of A in this one as well. So with that, Commissioner Hackenberg, do you wish to make motion?
Yeah, I will. And I mean, I do want to note that they didn't just tear the whole thing down, which unfortunately we're seeing an awful lot of too. I mean, we still have the roof structure, the flooring and foundation. Staff is recommending
Moderate fine,
fine.
from 0 to 45,000 and change.
Yeah. I'm going to make a motion to approve the retention and levy an $8,000 fine, which is slightly less than 20%.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have a second on that motion?
Second.
Commissioner Lupin will second. Thank you. Is there any further discussion between commissioners on this? Now that we have a motion on the floor in a second.
I thought I heard that there was additional information that supposedly was provided but not received. Is that something we would want to see if it can be resent and re-received and defer this, or do we just proceed as is?
I believe is the material was what was removed. It wasn't in situ. It had already been removed. Was that what I gathered, correct?
The photos that I sent, maybe they somehow got misplaced, but it was a video that my architect took of the severely damaged, like termite eaten sills. Some of the material was removed, but the information that I submitted, if it didn't get received, was of termite eaten sills, etc. And it showed a lot of the original walls that didn't bear on the sills at all whatsoever.
Okay.
I just don't, I guess we have a motion on the floor in a second. We have a lot of other applications. And also, forgive me. I'm just thinking ahead on this and, deferring applications is, I don't know that it's necessarily fruitful always. Sometimes we defer and nothing really changes on the application. They're in front of us today with, the top end of the range is 45,000. I think Commissioner Hackenberg's proposed an $8,000 fine, given that it's not the full house, that it's a portion of the house. And I don't know. Again, we have a motion on the floor in a second. I think that's between discussion of the commissioners here. I cannot.
Yeah, part of this is the staff was not consulted before this work was undertaken. And documenting after the fact, well, I mean, you get a collapse or some situation where you don't have an opportunity to do that. I can certainly see that, but it specifically says if you're demolishing more than what is approved, you need to contact the staff.
I'm looking to other commissioners to see. We have a motion on the floor in a second. So I guess my question will be, Commissioner Bressler's asking if there's any additional thing. I just.
Sound like that the information be substantial because it's after the fact.
I can't hear.
It just didn't seem like the missing information would be something that would change our mind on this.
I mean, we never had any intention of doing this amount of demolition whatsoever, and it was only that the building literally.
We have a motion on the floor in a second, so we've closed off public comment, but we do understand, we've heard that previously in this. So with that, we have a motion on the floor in a second. All those in favor? All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. You have been granted, we just voted to grant the retention of the unpermitted demolition and levy a fine of $8,000 for that work. With that, you are available to appeal to City Council this action. So you have 10 calendar days from the date of this meeting to appeal to City Council in writing, and the staff will furnish you with the details of that appeals process. Thank you and good luck with your project. In the future, please work to notify the staff prior to doing demolition. Thank you. Okay, moving forward. Item B, 52 St. Charles Avenue, is the applicant present?
Yes.
Oh, okay, a second one. Here we go. Okay. Please state your name and address for the record.
Catherine O'Brien, 727 8th Street.
Thank you. Staff will make their presentation and we'll hear comments following.
This is an application for retention of inappropriate highly visible conduit installed at a contributing rated two-story single-family residential building without a certificate of appropriateness in full control St. Charles. During a recent renovation, staff informed the applicant, both within the stamp drawing set and C of A, that any additional changes to the exterior of the building would require HDLC review. After that renovation, very large visually prominent conduit was installed to service pool equipment as part of an electrical permit, but the conduit was not disclosed within the scope submitted with the application. As the HDLC did not have an opportunity to review, the inappropriate work was done without a C of A. There was previously existing conduit in the same location beneath the rear overhang of the house, but its gauge was much smaller and it did not extend downward as the current conduit does. As the previous conduit was in the same location, it is appropriate for new conduit to be run under the overhang, but the extension of the new conduit to the ground, the size of the conduit, and the PVC material, which does not hold paint reliably, as well as wires beneath that remained uncontained, contribute to the inappropriateness of the current condition. The house's location on a corner lot makes the inappropriate conduit highly visible. Staff recommends that the commission deny the retention of the conduit as it currently exists, and that the applicant replace it with an appropriate metal conduit in the smallest gauge possible, include the currently exposed wires in the conduit with the other electrical lines, and paint the conduit to match the house.
Thank you. So the applicant, do you wish to address the commission?
Yes.
You have 2 minutes.
So at every turn on this renovation, we have discussed every detail with the HDLC, including multiple design iterations, even though we have approved drawings. When we chose to do the rear door before fabrication, we sent those designs in. The electrician pulled the permit for the conduit and everything was disclosed to safety and permits, and they had every chance to review it, and there was no review done by the city. I wasn't aware that it would need it because it went through all the permits and was approved.
So question to you on your drawings that were reviewed and by HDLC, did you draw in the electrical conduit?
We didn't
its current
because
configuration?
we didn't because we did not intend to do any of this work in our original scope. And it was not just for the pool equipment, the house, when we arrived on site to do additional renovations, the house was already overloaded significantly above its 220 panel. And the owners, I mean, we just couldn't move forward with doing any electrical work for any additional projects with such an overloaded panel. It needed to be upgraded to a 400 amp panel, to which the conduit size is actually determined by code, and that's the smallest conduit that it can accept.
Understood. So at that, so the work that we're reviewing today was never in the original permit that HDLC reviewed.
Right, but since before starting any work on the electrical, there was a permit that was submitted to One Stop and approved.
So that permit would have to be accompanied with drawings indicating where this work, how it was going to be on here, which should have been in that original permit or revised. I'm gonna look to the.
I think she's referring to the
electrical permit,
And-
yes.
Does that require drawings?
It doesn't, but usually when we, forgive me, I also practice as well. We are required to draw, this is same with HVAC units and other things. You identify that scope and draw it out in advance. The electrical permit itself does not require, because it's for the electrical division.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the electrical division did sign off on it, but you know, any work you do to an exterior of a property requires a C of A from the HDLC.
Yeah.
So, you know, the electrical department is reviewing it for electrical aspects of the sub permit,
Yeah.
not necessarily the visual impact of those items.
Correct. And this is high, I mean, it's highly visible. And again, if I mean, our staff reviews a lot of applications, but if it had been drawn on here in advance and reviewed with the staff, staff would have had the ability to comment and work with the applicant to put it in a less visible location, rather than the electrician making the decision as to where those things are going without reviewing it.
Well, typically with permits, we're asked of those questions and we're asked of those drawings, and this permit went through and we weren't reached out to ask for any additional information. We submitted everything that we thought needed to be submitted to go forward with this. And we put the conduit in the existing location with same materials. It just had to be physically upgraded.
Does your company often do work in historic districts in New Orleans?
Sometimes.
This is part of our guidelines and part of what we review. You're here for the second retention application today. We would just encourage you to read through the guidelines and be aware of what HDLC does and what we review as part of that to work with us so that we don't have to see you here for retention applications in the future. I'm just gonna leave that at that. And so with that, I'm gonna see, is there any additional public comment on this application? Seeing as there's no public comment, commissioners, this is in St. Charles. We don't have a commissioner for this district. Is there a commissioner who's interested?
Well, if I may, so I realize that the electrician is the one who picked out the size of the conduit. And at the end of the day, we want to see something that's appropriate on here and doesn't stick out in the way that this conduit does. So